All right, good morning. Tom Heitz with the Kentucky Wild Chats. And I got to let you know that the reason I have the hat on is because I got a little bit of bedhead from being up late last night watching that game and didn't work out yet. Came into the studio to shoot this video for you because I'm a little bit late. But you know what? That just doesn't look too good here. Let's just be transparent and take it off. All right, bedhead, no makeup. I'm just going to roll with this because that's how we do it. All right, a cat makes accommodations. All right, there were questions I asked for last week. If you had some questions about the experience of a player in the Sweet 16, and technically we're still in the Sweet 16, even though that Kentucky has made it to the Final Four. So I wanted to address these questions and set you up for the next episode, probably on a podcast where I can go into a little more detail about some of the attitudes of fans, Kentucky fans, other fans, Coach Cal players or whatever. But today I want to go just over these questions and address them here, and I'll probably ask for some additional questions about Final Four. So here we go. Todd Caudill, he said, UCLA in the tournament after a terrible regular season, how far will they go? Well, you can see they didn't go too far. They got beat by Gonzaga, Kyle Wiltshire. You know, they deserve to be in. I'm going to tell you, you get to that point and the way they played, they do. I mean, picking for the 64, it's scientific in one hand, the other hand it's very subjective. So, you know, you can go into all types of permutations and calculations of why they shouldn't have been in there and why they, you know, why they are in. But hey, they're in there. They played a good game against Gonzaga. So, you know what, they deserve to be in, really. I mean, it's a good team. You know, Kentucky toasted them. They deserve to be in. Johnny McBrown said, do I believe the press will be used more? Well, you know, that was pre-West Virginia, that question, and we saw how well that worked for West Virginia, how well it worked for Notre Dame. It all depends on the players. It hasn't really worked effectively with Kentucky, but that doesn't mean that it would not work. It all depends on the players, their attitude that night. They get spooked a little bit like they did last night with Notre Dame. You know, things can happen that aren't so positive. So if you have somebody like Pitino, I would imagine Pitino, if he comes back around and we end up facing Louisville, I would imagine he'd have some tricks up his sleeve. And, you know, we'll see how that works. But it's really subjective. I mean, with the length and the athleticism of Kentucky, not so effective. But you know what? If I was an opposing coach, I would not rule that out. I would, you know, look for every exploitation that I could use against the Cats. All right, Todd, you ask another one. All teams are beatable. What weakness do I see in the UC game that they need to work on, and that's specifically Kentucky? Well, I'm going to tell you this. Help side defense and making sure that if your guy is off the ball, that you're watching your teammate so you don't give up those baseline or just straight down the middle with no contested layup kind of shots. I saw that with, let me see, how do you call Connaughton? I think that's how you say his name, the guy that came in and just, you know, ran up and dunked on and actually had a couple more shots like that. With big guys, you got to really step in front or do something or knock the bejesus out of him, something, so they never do that again. But this team, that's really not their complexity, but it's something they got to be aware of because the game's coming forward now. Everyone's going to be a dogfight. Everyone's going to be a dogfight. So the weakness is just the defense and really picking up the aggressiveness there. Now, for the 18 and 19-year-olds, which is the majority of the team, you know, that's somewhat of a concern, although they've risen to the occasion. But it's something I'd be concerned with because, again, they're 18 and 19 years old, okay? Don't forget that in so many different facets, especially when the criticism comes upon them. It's like, really? You know, I've got a 19 and a 21-year-old son, and to think that they would be on a stage like this and perform exceptional every night, you know, some people have to get real. They're still kids, okay? But these kids are doing really well, and they're being coached well as well, all right? All right, Laura was asking, she was talking about an interview where I talked about my future after UK. This was about 30 years ago. And did I go to Wall Street, and was my height and long arms an asset? Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't go to Wall Street, but I went to the commodity markets, the futures market in Chicago, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Chicago Board of Trade. Yes, the long arms and height helped. And the thing is, there were other former basketball players who had height and long arms just like me, but it did help. And I had 10 years there until it finally took me out where I just couldn't do that anymore. Too much stress. When my first son was born, within 6 months it was adios, out of there, because the net worth was on the line every single day. And so that kind of answers that question there, I hope. All right, Ken Osborne. With learning, balancing academics and academics, did I get any downtime with family and friends? Well, let me tell you this. When you're involved in the NCAA, especially with Kentucky, no Thanksgiving, no Christmases, and only 1 out of 5 spring breaks did I ever have a chance to experience there, because we was always in the tournament when spring break was going on. So time with family and friends and academics, I mean, you have the academic advisors on you all the time to keep up with your studies along with your athletic endeavors, which is a huge, huge responsibility. And I can tell you now that tomorrow, being Monday, those kids will be in class most likely, because I don't think they're going right to Indianapolis. They will go to class, get caught up in what they missed last week, and it's going to be tough. This is where a true champion comes about, because no, they don't disregard academics because it becomes secondary. It's still primary. That's what Coach Cal recruited them on. That's what he explained to them. And more importantly, that's what they're actually doing, is going to class, unlike that guy that used to wear the red sweater that criticized and a few other people. The Kentucky players do go to class, and they will be at class. So balancing, you don't have balance at this time of year, Ken. You have dedication, and you've got a lot of stuff on your plate that you have to be, you just have to do. You got to suck it up and do it. So now Wes Groot said, what is my feeling about compensating players, and especially with, all this money, the $1 billion operation that March Madness CBS has in place? Well, that's like arguing politics and religion. And I will tell you this, that last year was, I believe, the 26th straight year that the University of Kentucky has given back at least $1 million to the non-athletic school fund, okay, for scholarships, etc. Last year it was $3 million. Now, mind you, this money, you have to think about how the finances go in a college. There's student fees that pay for a lot of athletics at many colleges. At Kentucky, there is no fees that come out of a student's tuition to pay for anything in the athletic department. Pretty sure of that from an article and asking some questions of the athletic department a couple years ago. Could be wrong, but for the most part, I don't believe any fees are taken out. And all the money that's generated from the athletic department goes to pay women's sports, goes to pay some of the lower non-revenue producing sports, and then the excess sent back last year $3 million back to the non-athletic scholarship fund. I'm pretty proud of that, and I can give some props to our athletic department and Mitch Barnhart for that. Now, where do we go from here? Like I said, I'm going to be starting a podcast, which is an audio version of this, which, by the way, through SoundCloud, Stitcher for Android, or more importantly, iTunes, you'll be able to download these episodes. I'll be able to expand a little bit longer. So if you're working out, if you're driving, you won't have to watch this. You can actually listen to it. There's a lot of technical things I didn't anticipate that I'm going to get into and have that smoothed out. But for now, hey, you get me on video with bedhead and everything like that. So in the meantime, you have questions about the Final Four, that experience, I can talk about that. There's a lot of other questions that I know you have, this tremendous hate for Kentucky, even hate among our fans with Ashley Judd and what she said and apologizing to the kid from Cincinnati, which, by the way, I thought was very classy. And I have a lot of comments on that as well. It's a game. These kids are kids, remember? We have fun. So kind of like, what's the anchor man's name? Ron Burgundy? Stay classy, Kentucky, all right? Stay classy, because you know what? People are watching us all the time, and they determine a lot of, who they think we are by the reactions and actions of you, our fans, and the players. So let's stay classy, okay? Tom Heitz with Kentucky Wildcats. Have a great day, and go Cats.